Okay, so I found a segment of Jalen Rose's thoughts on Ben Simmons' lack of growth in his game. With this being his fourth NBA season, I'm pretty sure by last year people thought that Ben Simmons would have developed at least a decent mid-range shot, be able to shoot at least 70 to 75% from the free throw line. They thought that his shooting game would gradually grow over the course of each season. And what they're coming to realize is that it's not going to, right now it's not going to. And I can give you my thoughts on why. I'm not going to tell you the reason why, because there could be a multitude of reasons. Unless you're Ben Simmons or people that are close to Ben Simmons, there's probably no one that would know this. But this is my thought on why Ben Simmons has not developed the shooting game at this point in his NBA career. There's a couple of there's a couple of things to it. It's not just one big thing. There's like individual pieces to what I'm about to say. So the first piece is complacency. Okay, now, when Ben Simmons was drafted, he was looked at as the next big thing. He was looked at as the guy that was supposed to be the next evolution of basketball player. I mean, you're talking about 6'10", about 230, who can run like a point guard, who can dribble like a guard, period, who can rebound at a power forward's level, and who can defend pretty well because he has length, he has size, he has decent athleticism. So Ben Simmons was looked at as that guy, and he could pass. He can pass. He can facilitate. Okay. Now, the one thing that I can say about Ben Simmons' game that I respect is he was gifted with size. Okay. So that allows him, and his athleticism, being able to play the point guard position, gives him an extreme advantage defensively. Even in offensively, because all he would have to do is just post up the smaller guards, man. Post up the smaller guards on offense, and you have the size and the length to pretty much lock down any point guard in the NBA now, because most starting point guards, they don't exceed 6'4", maybe 6'5", and he's 6'10", 230, probably weighs 30 pounds more than, any other point guard, any other starting point guard in the NBA. So complacency is one of those things that I think is contributing to the reason why his game isn't growing. Because Ben Simmons was looked at, people were calling this kid a superstar his second year in the NBA. When the year that they got bounced out by Boston, people were picking them to be the ones to knock off LeBron in the Eastern Conference playoffs. They were looking at Philadelphia. They were calling Joel Embiid a superstar. They were calling Ben Simmons a superstar or close to it. And I said a while ago, like, when you're used to receiving praise like that at this point, when you're used to it, why would you change? You have no reason to change when everybody's telling you you're great already. So why should Ben Simmons change unless he wants to? And so far, I guess he's shown that he's not ready to change right now. Another thing is, he could just be. I think that his shooting form is a huge problem with why he can't seem to, I guess, develop a decent jumper, a consistent jumper. His shooting form could be the issue. There are plenty of players in the NBA that couldn't shoot for years, and come to find out, the way they were shooting was the reason why they couldn't shoot. So there's some other stuff. There's going to pop into my mind as the video goes on, so I'm going to get it started.
Of the Greek Freak so far this season, what's impressed you?
He's been fantastic, and the thing I always appreciate about greatness is that people want to continue to improve. And when he won MVP last year and his team didn't make it to the finals, they didn't win the championship, he's like, don't call me MVP, because I still got work to do. And you know what he did this offseason? He improved his jumper.
Giannis is scary, man. Giannis is a scary dude. And you're talking about a guy that's 6'11", 7 foot, I mean, his length is unbelievable. He's really athletic. He's really strong. He's a really good defender. He's a great low post scorer. He can score anywhere around the basket, I think, at this point in his career. I don't care where he is near the basket. He can score on anybody. But what's making him even more dangerous is, I mean, this guy hit 5 3-pointers in the game. Now, some people may call that a fluke. He may not be able to repeat that again. But just for him to be able to do that once, I mean, you know, you ask most shooters, man, a lot of times shooting comes from self-confidence, rhythm. Like, once you get used to doing it over and over again, you develop a rhythm. Once you believe that you can knock those shots down, now you have the self-confidence that you can knock it down. I mean, you have all the tools that you need to be a better shooter. And right now, I think Giannis is the scariest player in the NBA, man. Sky's the limit for this kid.
Anytime this guy at 7 foot tall, Laura, usually the guy that's dunking on everybody and dominating the paint like a Shaquille O'Neal isn't the same guy that's 1 or 2 warm-up dribbles away from knocking down a 28.
And people say that if Ben Simmons could develop a decent mid-range to maybe somewhere near the 3-point line, if he could develop a very consistent jumper where he could knock it down if you leave him open, that he would be a scary player, man. He would be his game would go to another level. That's where Giannis is right now. Where Ben Simmons should be or should be approaching, that's where Giannis is.
29-foot 3-point shot. That's what we see now, Greedy. And he has a killer instinct to continue to attack. He does not settle. You know when you watch certain big guys and you get frustrated with them, the Joel Embiid sometimes, you like, just dominate, just go to the basket and dunk on everybody. That's actually what he does. So it's amazing to watch him progress, and don't sleep on the 5.6 assists. The Bucks are a terrific 3-point shooting team, especially at home.
He has that element of nasty, which I mean in the absolute most positive way that you're looking for in a superstar. I love him, and I'm not taking anything away from him. But I'm thinking back, you and I sat here every single day during the playoffs last year when they lost to Toronto, and it felt like in a playoff series, when you can dial in, night out, teams aren't, you know, you're not spending a week figuring out how you're going to stop Giannis. But it felt like last year when you gave Nick Nurse and the Raptors time to prepare to stop him. They stopped him, and the Bucks didn't have any answer.
No, listen. There is nobody on that team right now on the Toronto Raptors, if they went into a 7-game series against the Bucks, that could stop fucking Giannis anymore. That guy was Kawhi. That guy is gone. There's nobody in the East, I believe, that can stop this dude. Kawhi was the only one that stopped him. I don't think there's anybody in the East that can stop him, at least right now. There's nobody. Look at that number. He's averaging 43 points against the Sixers. I'm pretty sure he's getting most of that in the paint. Who's in the paint for Philadelphia? Joel Embiid, who's looked at as he's supposed to be the best center in the NBA, best all-around center in the NBA. Can't stop a fucking nosebleed. What makes you think that he's going to stop Giannis? There's nobody that's going to stop Giannis. The Bucks are a massive favorite to make it to the NBA Finals this year, and they should be. They should be a massive favorite. There should be nobody closer.
Offensively, is this team different this year?
And that's not me going back on what I said last year, because this team is pretty much the same as it was last year. But that's not me going back on what I said in the last postseason, where I said that this team, there's really nothing special about them besides Giannis. I'm not going back on that. Giannis is such an animal. He makes that team better. He makes that team dangerous. Because if you take Giannis off that team is probably a sub 500 team. I'm being honest. I believe that's a sub 500 team, possibly not even making the playoffs. But with Giannis, they're dangerous.
This team is different. This team is better. And that run and that experience also helped. They were the number 1 seed, and they got upset by Kawhi Leonard. That was lightning in the bottle for the Toronto Raptors. If you look at their bigs up front, you have Gasol, you have Serge Ibaka, you had an emerging Pascal Siakam. So you have more.
Yeah, if you think that Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol is going to stop Giannis this year, you're crazy. They wasn't stopping him last year either. It was Kawhi. Kawhi was the X factor in that series, just like he's been the X factor the entire season last year for Toronto. He's the X factor. Now, they did win some games in the regular season when Kawhi was, sitting because of the whole load management thing. They did win some games. I'm not going to take everything away from them. I'm not going to say they're nothing without them. I mean, before they got him, they were a number 1 seed. But they wouldn't have been championship material if it wasn't for Kawhi.
Multiple people that you could throw at the Greek Freak. Now he's making jump shots. And let's look at the teams. The Boston Celtics don't have a chance to play.
No, I can't see Boston right now because I'm glad that they went out and they picked up some depth at center and power forward, and they got some good young pieces. But I don't think there's anybody on this team that can stop Giannis. I don't care what double team, what triple team you throw at him. I don't think there's anybody strong enough, big enough to stop him. This is a different Giannis than we're seeing last year. This dude can shoot, he can drive, he can dunk, he can do everything. He can defend, he can pass now. This dude can do everything.
Against the Greek Freak. The 76ers, they have a chance in Joel Embiid and Al Horford. This is why you add Al Horford.
Neither one of them are stopping him. Look at the numbers, 43 points. Unless you tell me that the games that, or the, oh no, that was last season. Crap, I'm not even looking at the thing. But still, Al Horford was on Boston when they played Milwaukee. Al Horford was less than effective. Joel Embiid, to be honest, I think is overrated. I think he's overrated as a basketball player. I don't think he's as good as people keep thinking this guy is. I think he has some deficiencies in his game. I think his attitude is the reason why I don't think he'll ever get to that point where this dude is a real killer. I think he's too childish to, first of all. I think he still has some maturing mentally to do before you can even throw him in those conversations. But I don't see Al Horford and Joel Embiid doing anything against Giannis this year, man. Giannis is just on a different level, man. But still, 43 points against last year's Philadelphia team is still 43 points. I gotta see late in the season how Giannis is looking, if he's able to maintain this stretch that he's on. Because I can see him winning an MVP again.
For this matchup. But this team is different. You add Wesley Matthews, who's a lockdown defender. He can shoot the 3. Chris Middleton was an all-star last year. Ilyasova is underrated.
I'm just noticing that this says Christmas Day. I believe I saw that game. I think Milwaukee won that game. I could be wrong. I gotta look it up.
Can play really well and knock down jump shots. They're getting DiVincenzo's playing quality minutes. They won without Bledsoe against the Lakers. So this team has built out depth. And the Lopez brothers, both of them are giving them not only defense but offense. So I like this Bucks team. But for Philly, when you go against the Greek Freak, I was just writing down the names of the people who have the skill and the size to actually compete against him, walking the face of the earth. It's only 5 of them.
All right, well, he already said one, KD. I would say KD. I would say Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. That's 3 right there. I'm trying to guess his 5. I could be wrong. KD, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. I don't know. I can't really think of it. If he says Joel Embiid, that's where I'm gonna lose my shit, man. I don't think I don't think Joel Embiid can stop this guy. Maybe Rudy. I don't think Rudy Gobert. I don't think he's athletic enough. I mean, he's a great defender, man, but I don't think. I think athletically, Giannis would best him. I gotta hear who he says.
With the Mavs, Karl Anthony Towns.
Hold on.
And the size to actually compete against him, walking the face of the earth. It's only 5 of them. KP with the
Chris Stapps. Chris Stapps would get destroyed. Chris Stapps reminds me so much of Pau Gasol, but Chris Stapps is a greater shooter. Not even close. But his game reminds me so much of Pau Gasol. He's such a finesse player. I think Giannis would destroy this kid, man.
With the Mavs, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis.
Karl Anthony Towns is another soft dude. I mean, this dude does have somewhat of an animal in him, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I still can't see him I can't see him matching up and somewhat neutralizing Giannis, or at least I don't know. I can't see him matching up well against Giannis.
And today's opponent, Joel Embiid. And the reason why those are the only guys that can play against the Greek Freak when everybody's playing at an elite level, because each of those guys can shoot the three, which will keep the Greek Freak out of the paint, but all of those guys can play on the post if needed, just like the Greek Freak is able to do.
So let's talk a little.
Joel Embiid, and I can't say this enough. I said this already a lot. Joel Embiid is his post move set is highly questionable. Because when you let a guy like Al Horford push you around in the post, you're supposed to be taller, stronger, more athletic, younger, quicker, and you let Al Horford push you around in the paint the way he did a couple years ago, and I really don't see any growth in his ability to back anybody down. This is supposed to be about Ben Simmons, but I don't see it, man. I think Giannis would just take advantage of that matchup. That's why he averaged 43 points a game, man, because they couldn't stop him anyway.
More about the 76ers, and Embiid's one thing, but everybody's expected more out of Ben Simmons. I thought Greeny said this really well in the first hour. We're expecting him to be LeBron James, and he has been nowhere close. What's going on with Ben Simmons, and what can he do?
To be honest, besides the athleticism, early on in his career, Ben Simmons is pretty much LeBron James. Pretty much. I mean, he has more help on his team roster-wise than LeBron did, but they're pretty much at the same starting point. I mean, LeBron was obviously a better free throw shooter, not by much. He was a better shooter all around, not by much. He's a better mid-range shooter, definitely. But pretty much their games are similar, man.
Maybe today to even show that he's stepping it up.
So it's almost like a relationship. I think we got to start falling in love with Ben Simmons for who he is, because he ain't changing.
And who's to blame for that? I say the media is to blame for that. The media fell in love with this kid from the word go. They talked this kid up every step of the way, and now that this kid probably feels comfortable enough to just be himself and not really worry about changing. I mean, he is who he is right now, and it seems like the only thing that forces an NBA player to change is when you're threatened to lose what you have. Like, look at Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez in New Jersey / Brooklyn. He was a decent low post scorer. Didn't have much of an outside game. He wasn't a good rebounder. He was pretty much a lazy rebounder at 7 foot. And he really didn't do much else, and he had massive injury. Well, he had major injury problems, and his career was average at best. And when the league started to change, where now everybody was shooting a three-pointer, the only thing he could do was develop a three-point shot to make himself somewhat valuable, so the league didn't phase him out. That's why you see a lot of these big men that didn't shoot threes before but are shooting threes now, is because their position, the big man position, is becoming damn near obsolete unless you can shoot, unless you can stretch the floor somewhat. This is why you see big men passing more. This is why you see big men shooting from outside more. This is why you see less and less and less low post offense back to the basket. You don't see it as much anymore, because the game is straying further away from the paint and more to the three-point line.
Trying to tell this to Jay Williams coming into this offseason. You don't go from being a guy that drives exclusively to the basket and never, don't underestimate this word, attempts shots outside of the paint. I didn't say can't shoot. I said doesn't attempt. That's mental.
And it's kind of the same thing with Ben Simmons, because in his mind, he knows he can't shoot, so why the hell would he even try to attempt it? And I'm not saying Ben Simmons doesn't try to practice his shooting stroke, doesn't try to practice hitting shots, doesn't try to practice his free throws as much as he can. I'm not saying he doesn't do that. He's like, all right, I am who I am. I'm just going to stick with it because it seems to be working. I mean, this dude's an all-star. I mean, this dude is possibly in a running for a possible fucking All-NBA. Because most of this shit is fan voted anyway. Most of this shit is a popularity contest. This is why I don't even pay attention to the All-Star Weekend, because most of it is popularity. That's it. That's all it is.
And I remember being on this set, and I said this to you, Greeny, when the team celebrated him making a three-point shot in the preseason, a lot of people was like, oh, that means Ben's going to be making threes this year. When your teammates celebrate you making a shot in preseason, that means you ain't making them in practice. So we just got to accept Ben Simmons for who he is. He's really fast. He's a terrific defender. He's really versatile. He's going to finish in the paint, but he's not going to be the guy the last 5 to 10 seconds that they get a ball to the
Okay, I'm with you on that. But if we're going to accept that that is going to be his ceiling, then I'm going to go back to what you said to me a year ago. I'm sitting right in these chairs. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons will never win a championship as the two best players on a team.
I agree with you. Because
you're saying it. You were the one who said it. You're agreeing with you. It's you. You're agreeing.
Yes. And I stand by that. Here's why. These are both actually cornerstone talents that usually a franchise builds around. So if you have a Joel Embiid, then you do the supplementary parts around him. The same with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons can have a situation almost like the Greek Freak. Not that he's as good as the Greek Freak, but I'm saying that you need somebody that's going to have the ball, but you surround him with shooters. With both of those guys playing.
And if anybody noticed at the top of the screen, it said, is Ben Simmons a souped up Draymond Green? Yeah, I don't know about that. Because Draymond Green can actually shoot. Now, he may not be shooting well, but he can shoot. He can knock him down. Ben has yet to show that he can knock it down.
Together, at the end of the game, they're both on the baseline, Laura. They're clogging the paint. And then you have Al Horford, who's a capable three-point shooter, but not a knockdown three-point shooter. So it distorts the spacing for the Philadelphia 76ers.
The Sixers, to me, are not the biggest threat to them in the conference. We're going to fight about this at some other time because it is the Boston Celtics who need to make one trade, and in my opinion, they could win the conference. Thank you for watching ESPN.
So that's pretty much it. Look, if Ben Simmons wants to take that next step as a possible MVP candidate, he needs to develop a shooting game. The NBA, the only thing that they haven't figured out yet was how to neutralize his size. Neutralize his size and athletic ability. Once they figure that out, which Brad Stevens pretty much did that a couple years ago in the playoffs. Once they figure that out, Ben Simmons is in serious trouble. And hopefully he develops that shot before it's too late. But, alright.